Shalum. Shalom and welcome. Welcome to Endtime Reflections. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Symmanayah, and these are the words I'm compelled to present before an awakening, set-apart nation. I present to you the 40th installment of this podcast series, and I submit why it is important to identify and not, let me say again, not take for granted those chosen to work the harvest of Abba Yahuah. End times will prove that there are followers among laborers of this mighty harvest, and that we will learn from one another as the Spirit of Yahuah guides us in Yahusha's name. Before I speak on the subject of followers among laborers, let me say this. The views expressed in these podcasts do not necessarily reflect the views of owners, management, or shareholders of this media platforms. With that said, come here, listen, and seek to discern why this message contributes to the building up of a set-apart awakening nation. Each of us are important. As we find ourselves in the midst of the great harvest, there will be many with different skills. There will be the well-equipped and experienced at specific tasks necessary for Abba Yahuah's harvest, and those who are less experienced but ordered to learn and grow in the positions of various skill sets. I could have said in simple words, there will be mentors and mentees. It would be wise to discern that this plan belongs to the Almighty Father Yahuah, and He desires us to recognize one another and do not take each other for granted, lest we find disruption among the family. It is unwise, let me say again, it is unwise to fight or battle against what is ordered by the Almighty Father Yahuah. Know that there will be the mentored and the mentee, the mentor and the mentored, as directed by the Spirit of Yahuah sent in Yahusha's name. Followers among laborers represents the need to build connections for completing the task according to what is written in the scriptures. My brothers and sisters, yes, even your leader will prove if he or she is being guided by the Almighty Father to remain as leader, must prove that they can follow, must prove that they will be a follower, must prove that they know how to vet and examine and identify their leader, a leader or someone that the Spirit of Yahusha is speaking through, whether it be for a moment. Allow me to read the following from eSword's 2000, the Scriptures 2009 module. It's called eSword's TS 2009 module. Please be advised, when the word Elohim is used, you may have noticed that I substituted with the Almighty One, for Yahuah is one. One Almighty One. Elohim is plural for mighty ones. With that said, let's read. Let me read Luke 10, 2 and 3. It said, Then he said to them, The harvest indeed is great, but the workers are few. Therefore pray that the master of the harvest to send out workers into the harvest. Go see, I send you out as lambs into the midst of wolves. We are in spiritual battle, my brothers and sisters. There is no doubt of that. There are those who seek to enlarge their communities, their camps, fellowship groups, etc., without regards to the methods in which the Almighty Father have set forth. There are individuals who prefer to lift themselves up, leadership who prefer to lift themselves up versus lifting up Yahusha HaMashiach. There are those who are clueless to what it takes to be followers among laborers, able to label, able to labor, able to follow. If you are a leader, my brothers and sisters, you must also know what it means to be a servant. You must also know what it means to demonstrate how those who follow you should follow Yahusha. Let me continue. Leviticus 23:22 says, And when you reap the harvest of your land, do not completely reap the corners of your field when you reap, and do not gather any gleaning from your harvest. Leave them for the poor and for the stranger. I am Yahuah, your Almighty One. My brothers and sisters, all too often we get stuck on the text disregarding or either unfamiliar with the following passage. 2 Corinthians 3, 4, 5, and 6. 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 4 through 6 says, "And such trust we have towards the Almighty One through the Messiah. Not that we are competent in ourselves to reckon any matter from ourselves, but our competence is from the Almighty One, who also made us competent as servants of a renewed covenant, not of the letter, but of the Spirit. For the letter kills and the Spirit gives life." My brothers and sisters, when it comes to the harvest, there are details, there are processes. We must identify what we are harvesting, how to harvest it, when to harvest it. Do you know that there are multiple harvests in a year, depending on what fruit or grain that you are growing? My brothers and sisters, there are obedient pastors, mores, teachers, bishops, and others in leadership positions that are still unlearned or undiscerning when it comes to specific matters. They'll stumble and they'll fall. But beware, there are also wolves in sheep clothing. There are those who forget things in scriptures, as well as those who are just pushing their own agendas. I want you to take a moment and set a goal in your mind to ask your pastor, leader, more, teacher, bishop, deacon, what do the words followers among laborers mean? What does the word follower mean? Who is it that they would follow? Besides them just saying Yahusha Mashiach in the Spirit. You see, for the Spirit of Yahusha works in us, through us. Would they be willing and ready to discern the Spirit of Yahusha speaking through another? Are they trying to build the community, the camp, so large that it's beyond their skill sets? Ask them questions of how do they become acquainted with such a large community or camp? How do they know things are in unison to the scriptures? Ask them, would they follow anyone? And if so, how would they examine and vet that person? You see, we see so many leaders of these camps and communities that lift themselves up as though no one could teach them. Even Abraham met Melchizedek and recognized the leadership that was provided. Let me go on. Matthew 7:15 say, "But beware of the false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are savage wolves." That was Matthew 7:15. Matthew 23:27 and 28 say, "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you are like whitewashed tombs, which outwardly indeed look well, but inside are filled with dead men's bones and are all uncleanness. So you too outwardly indeed appear righteous to men, but inside you are filled with hypocrisy and lawlessness." My brothers and sisters, you hear me and you will continue to hear me talk about vetting, examining the one in the mirror and those whom you come in contact. One way to discover these pastors that are wolves in sheep clothing, or these pastors that are like filled with dead man bones and uncleanness, is to drill down by vetting, asking questions and more questions, and you'll discover what is really inside that pastor. In some cases, you will discover that he or she is indeed seeking to do the will of the Almighty Father. And some of you might say, why is he saying she? There are times and places where man is so rebellious and wicked, where the Almighty Father has used a woman in leadership. Is the initial instruction, intent, is for man to lead. Indeed it is. But make no mistake, each of us, my brothers and sisters, each of us who are set apart and drawn by the Almighty Father will be used by him for his sake and to do his will. Yashar'al, O pursuers of set apartness, I challenge you to ask your leaders what the words followers among laborers mean. Could they follow? Who would they follow? How would they discern? How would they examine and vet before they make the step to follow? Or are they quick to say, no, I've never seen anybody else on the planet that I would follow? Given the thought that there's no one they could follow. I've witnessed so many strong-willed pastors, bishops, deacons, mores, teachers, and other influential strongly uphold or defend their position, but rarely demonstrate how they are able to identify obedient ones chosen to lead them, or at the very least feed them spiritually. You see, my brothers and sisters, we can learn from one another. Leaders can learn from us from time to time, and leaders can discover there is someone with greater leadership skill sets that have been shaped to lead them. And as end times produced the 144,000 and great multitude, as mentioned in Revelation 7 chapter, we will discover the power of the Almighty Father Yahuah. He will bring leaders to the point where they will follow. They will be a follower among the laborers. He will bring leaders that will pass the baton and say, I can go no further than this or no larger than this. You see, every leader doesn't have the skills to manage millions of people. We who seek to worship and obey the voice of the Spirit of Yahuah sent in Yahusha's name, we will discover, if not already, that he works in us, through us, and this requires submitting to one another at times, recognizing his voice speaking. Let me share with you Ephesians 5th chapter, verse 18 to 21. It says, and do not be drunk with wine, in which is loose behavior, but be filled with the Spirit, speaking to each other in psalms and songs of praise and spiritual songs, singing and striking the strings in your heart to the Master, giving thanks always for all to the Almighty One, the Father, in the name of our Master Yahusha Messiah, subjecting yourselves to each other in the fear of the Almighty One. My brothers and sisters, though this passage is speaking initially, literally, to husbands and wife relationship, a husband and wife relationship, so many fail to realize that this part references also, earlier in the chapter, Yahusha's relationship with the assembly. Let me take you back in that 5th chapter. Back up to the 1st and 2nd verse. It says, become then imitators of the Almighty One as beloved children, and walk in love as Messiah also has loved us and gave himself for us, a gift and an offering to the Almighty One for a sweet smelling fragrance. You see, my brothers and sisters, we are married to Yahusha HaMashiach first. Then the demonstrations that come from that point regarding marriage come with a man and a woman, or a man and his wives. Yes, I included multiple wives by using the word women. Many have failed to realize there are different components to building a set-apart nation. Polygyny is one of those components. People attempt to push their individual convictions or mindset on others when it comes to polygyny and other components of set-apartness. It is a contradiction to say you are pursuing set-apartness, yet you fight against polygyny, when Yashar'al itself is a nation that is built on a polygynous group. The 12 tribes are not made up of one man and one wife. People will take scriptures out of context to justify their belief that every man can only have one wife, just because that might be their convictions, or oftentimes they're responding to this westernized culture. Do you know that a set-apart nation, the tenets of nation building, come in more ways than you can imagine? Remember, the Almighty Father told Abraham that his seed will be as the sands of the sea. Polygyny is a nation-building component, but this message is not to be derived on or centered around polygyny. Nation-building components. This segment is about followers among laborers, following the instructions of the Almighty Father, knowing what they are, responding to them. Isaiah 4:1 say, and in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we shall eat our own food and wear our own clothes. Only let us be called by your name to take away our reproach. My brothers and sisters, another thing is that many fail to acknowledge we are being trained for everlasting life. And a time will come where there will not be any marriage. Marriage, as we know it, is a thing only while we are in these earthen vessels. There will not be any marriage in the resurrection. Are you not aware that the Mashiach Yahusha is quoted in Matthew 22:28-30, speaking on such? At the resurrection then, whose wife of the seven shall be? For all had her. And Yahusha answered and said to him, you go astray, not knowing the scriptures, nor the power of the Almighty One. For in resurrection they do not marry, nor are they given in marriage, but are as messengers of the Almighty One in heaven. You see, my brothers and sisters, marriage is a construct designed while we're in these earthen vessels for the building up of the set-apart nation of Yashar'al, for the magnification of Abba Yahuah, the Almighty One, the beginning and the end. A set-apart nation is rising and will be forged into unity. I want you to focus on the fact that each of us will grow to know the meaning of followers among laborers, whether single, married with one wife, or multiple wives. If we are indeed being drawn in these final days into unity, we will find ourselves disciplined to identify all the different components that build a nation, from the name to the teachings to the dress to the beliefs and practices and more. Time will prove that as we begin to witness coming close together, it requires us to discern what the Spirit of Yahuah is saying to us in Yahusha's name. Witnessing Him speak to us and through us as we prepare to follow the leading of the Spirit of Abba Yahuah, then we should be able to confirm that even among laborers there are followers. Followers are laborers. I leave you with these words, O Yashar'al. Ask your brother, your sister, your pastor, your moreh, your teacher, your deacon, your bishop, your spiritual influencer. Ask them, what does it mean to be followers among laborers? What methods do they use to determine who they should follow, when they should follow? And follow doesn't always mean eternity, weeks, years. Follow could be for the moment. But we will witness as end times bring widespread death and destruction. There will be leaders who would say, I don't know where to go from here. I don't know what to say from here. But they should be equipped with knowing how to vet those who present answers. They should be equipped with knowing and identifying followers of Yahusha Mashiach among the laborers who may respond and say, this is what we do next. You see, my brothers and sisters, subjecting yourselves one to another is being able to identify when the Spirit of Yahusha works in us, through us, and speaks to us, and we yield and we move. Pastors, morehs, teachers, bishops, deacons, and other set-apart influencing individuals should be demonstrating how to lead and when to follow. What have they given you in the event that you find yourself separated from that leader? Did they teach you? Did they demonstrate before you live actions on how to follow, how to lead, when to move? Did they teach you how to seek earnestly and discern whether it is the voice of the Almighty Father in Yahusha's name speaking to you? If not, my brothers and sisters, this is the time to begin having discussions. Look at those who are envious and desire to lead. Leadership comes with responsibility and accountability. Rise up, O Yashar'al. Our redemption draws near, and it requires us to know when to follow, when to lead, when to recognize the laborers and the followers, my brothers and sisters. On that note, I say to you, there is so much more to come. Continue to be encouraged. Behold the hand of the Almighty Father as His promised discipline, vengeance, and wrath have begun. Until next time, I say to you, my brother, my sister, my family, Shalum.